Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now, for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only, Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I am here with my co-host, who is now in sunny California, Miss PK. How are you doing?
I'm just thoroughly enjoying the fact that it's supposed to rain, and it's going to be raining throughout tomorrow, and they're a little concerned about the area, thank you God, a little southwest of us. That's because of the mudslides. It starts to rain because of all the fires.
Oh,
yes,
that's right.
Yes,
oh,
yes.
My goodness.
Uh-huh.
Oh, well, you
But
left sunny
fortunately,
Arizona for rainy California. Oh, my.
Yeah, it's in the high 70s in Arizona. I think I did things back afterwards.
I know.
But that's not unusual.
I know, really. No, gosh, I know. Well, hey, we're in Mercury retrograde, which is always no fun at all. So you never know what's coming down the pike with that, right?
Well, let's face it. When Mercury goes retrograde, the only thing you can count on is don't count on anything.
Right. Well, look what happened to us last week.
Sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, with Storm Fairy Wolf, first I got kicked off the air. Then you got kicked off the air. Then Storm got kicked off the air. So finally, Storm and I got back on the air. But, oh, my goodness, it was a crazy, unstable radio board last week. But we figured out that the fairies were trying to tell us something, and we got their messages and communicated the messages to our audience. So, hey, if you guys haven't heard that show, you need to go back and listen. It was incredible what the fairies had to say. And as soon as we got the messages, everything stabilized again. So we were fine after we listened to what they had to say. So that was a very wild experience. Now, tonight we have a guest who's amazing. Her name is Elena Manis, and she has written a book called Soul Dog. And we're going to have her on shortly. She's actually out walking her dog, Bravo, right now. And she'll be joining us in a few minutes. So, anyways, we will be talking with her about afterlife for animals and also the power that animals have to really put us in touch with our heart. So, before we get to all of that great stuff for tonight, PK, what's going on with the numbers?
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Oh, she's laughing. Do I want to know?
Well, it's a 7 universal day. Everybody's a little uptight, a little skeptical about what's going on around them. Overly tired, don't know quite who or what to trust. Everything's just kind of up and down. Nobody really slept well last night. And you have to stop and think that today, when you're taking a look, the month itself is all about details of things, and everybody wanting things perfect and not knowing which way to go. So all that's got everybody tearing their hair out on that last-minute stuff they have to do because of tomorrow. And tomorrow's going to be an 8-day. 8s and 4s are both karma. So the month is a 4, and the day's going to be an 8. The day's going to want to super trump, shall we say, the month itself. And it's going to be very interesting. What you may have thought of as being perfect is going to turn around. And if we're not careful, because of the retrograde on top of this 4-8 combination, which are both karmic numbers, by the way, it's not going to set perfectly comfortable for any of us or all of us, actually. In one form or another, we'll have a little nip and tuck, shall we say. But the worst part about it, if you think about it, is retrograde's going to bite us in the backside regardless of when it's taking place. It always does, because we want things perfect with the 4 around and the work we're putting in there. But when we're taking a look at the retrograde, everything seems to be going backwards because we're not looking at things in the positive way that we could before. Retrograde meaning that things dealing with communications in any way, shape, or form are subject to getting messed up, lost. God knows where they're going to go, but they're going to come back and get us a few different times, that's for sure. But if you take a look at anything that deals with electronics, that's where we're all going to be in trouble. Because today cars are computer generated. I mean,
that's right. Yes.
You go to try the grocery store. Stopped and picked up something this morning, and the next thing you know, the computer quote cash registers aren't working properly. Something's jumping out. Then they have to go back and try to test to get the right amount for the groceries, shall we say, to deal with anything dealing with your veggies and whatever, because nothing is really laid out in an easy fashion these days. So everybody's having fun, not having fun.
Oh, boy. All right. When I know I asked you this last time, I'm going to ask you again. When does Mercury retrograde end?
Well, it'll probably be into the first week in January. I'm kidding. It's December.
Of December. Thank goodness. Don't scare me like that.
No, it's about, I believe it's the 16th of December, and then we'll be out of it. But everybody needs to remember one thing, and we keep forgetting about mentioning this. When the retrograde starts or stops, there is a shadow period before and after that people forget about. And they think, it's over now, thank God, or it doesn't start till next week. Bottom line is that 7 days prior to or at the end of that shadow period is lethal as the actual retrograde. So do bear that in mind.
Yes, we will bear that in mind. Forewarned is forearmed. Okay. Well, thank you again, PK, for letting us know what's happening. Now, if anybody would like their numbers read by Patricia Kirkman, you can go to patriciakirkman.com and you can schedule a private reading with her. Patricia also does her own individual classes for people and group classes. There's all kinds of things available. So make sure you contact her. And then you can also find her on our Supernatural Girls website. That's supernaturalgirls.com. And you will be able to find her there as well. You can also find me there if you're interested in soul realignment. And it's just one more tool in my therapy box, which I absolutely love. And actually next week, we are having the originator of this process on the show. Andrea Hess is joining us for next week. So be sure you tune in. It's going to be great. And we did have some paranormal news. Now, we've been talking about UFOs because, PK, you predicted that there were going to be a lot more sightings, a lot more people reporting them. Exactly what's been happening. Interestingly enough, I've been told by people in the underground that the government or whomever is behind all of this is saying, don't deny it, just confirm it. They're taking us down a road, which you call the breadcrumb road, and I think that's exactly what's happening. No more denial, but no more. There's no coming out and admitting it because we know they'll never do that. But they are now confirming it. Right. Right. So very interesting what's happening. Make sure, everybody, you also go to our Facebook page, give us a like and a follow. And we have a story there about Bigfoot that's quite interesting. Don't miss it. And also, on the Facebook page is a photograph that's in line with our topic tonight. And it is a photograph that was taken during an American Skull session that I participated in with George Lugo and Becky Andreasen. And it is a photograph that came through of my dog who died over 25 years ago. And her name was Angel. And she came through, and there is her photo. It is not Photoshopped. I don't even know how to do Photoshop. It is on the Facebook page, and you must take a look. It is an incredible photo. It's one of many that we have received during our sessions, that was an extremely clear photo. We also have another photo, a strange light that showed up on the driveway, and it was taken by trail cam. And again, there is no light source on that driveway, no even light, not even a street light in the whole town. So all of a sudden, this light shows up on the driveway. Go take a look. This is the real stuff. This is the real deal, everybody.
It's absolutely startling when you look at it. It's almost as if you're looking down through a window that the light is on, because it's that bright and it's totally oblong, and it's just as sharp as can be and just as bright as can be, and yet everything else is dark.
Yes, it is a very odd picture, not unusual on this piece of property, apparently. But
well,
you know how many weird photos we have here.
But, you know.
Yeah, I know, really.
Around you.
Yeah, we do have a lot going on here. Yeah, I know, really. But anyways, this is the reason I posted that picture is obviously because it's right in line with our guest, Elena Manis, who has written a fabulous book called Soul Dog. And she's here with us tonight to share her incredibly moving journey with her dog, Brio. And we are so honored to have her with us because she's quite a powerhouse. Did you read about Ms. Manis? My God. I mean, she's an award-winning independent documentary director, writer, producer, whose honors include 6 Emmy Awards, a George Foster Peabody Award, 2 Directors Guild of America Awards. We can go on and on. This is one accomplished person who is joining us tonight. And again, we're privileged to have her on the show. Elena, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, it's our pleasure
Very
because
excited to talk to you.
It's great to talk to you. We are, I think, every single person in our audience, and certainly PK and I, we are all big animal lovers. And we've often said on the show, every animal knows more than we do. We have a real respect for animals. And you started on this journey. You had never been a dog owner. I was so surprised to read that. So please tell us how you got started with all of this.
Well, I mean, nobody was more surprised about this whole journey with my dog than I am. And the fact that I never would have thought I would have written a book like this. I was a skeptic. You know, I was trained as a journalist and, you know, not to take anything as truth unless it was really backed up by fact. And I'd never had a dog, as you said. I'd always liked animals, loved animals. I grew up with cats, but had always sort of wanted a dog. But yeah, I assumed that a dog, if I got a puppy, it would bring, you know, all the comfort and unconditional love that we always hear about, but that it wouldn't really profoundly change my life or view of existence. I mean, that was the farthest thing from my mind. I expected to get a little puppy who'd be cuddly and he would bond to me and everything would go smoothly and my life would go on as it had. But things didn't quite turn out that way.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh. So
now, you decided to get a standard poodle, and that is one heck of a smart breed. I mean, they're known for their intelligence also. So what was it that pulled you towards a standard poodle?
Well, we'd had family friends when I was growing up who had standard poodles, and I'd always liked them, so I gravitated towards that breed. I knew they were very smart, and I just liked them, so that's what I started out looking for. Then I located a breeder, and she had a litter, and initially I went down, I was going to take a girl puppy because I thought it would be easier to deal with in the city, a girl rather than a boy, but then fate or intention intervened, and the girl puppy I had wanted had been the well, actually, the one I ended up with, Brio, had been the pick of the litter that the co-breeder wanted, but he had a minor problem with a testicle that didn't come down, so that's not good for breeding, so she didn't take him, and she took the girl I had planned to take instead. However, when I first went down to look at the litter, in retrospect, Brio really kind of picked me out. I mean, he was running around waving with his paw at me, and, I just thought he was going to be too much for me, which proved initially to be true. He was very, very smart and very independent-minded, but he clearly had a spirit of his own. So initially I was very frustrated because I felt that I wasn't really communicating with him, and maybe he didn't like me because he kept disobeying me, and I got trainers, which helped, but I just felt, I was really almost desperate. I was desperate because I wanted this connection with my puppy, and I didn't feel that was happening. So I did a little research about animal communicators, and I'd heard about people, psychics, who claimed they could tell you what your animal, dog or a cat, was thinking and feeling. So I kind of on the spur of the moment found this woman in California that had a good reputation, called her up and asked her if she could read my puppy, and I didn't tell her anything about him really except his breed and his name, and she gave this incredibly accurate reading describing where we lived from the puppy's point of view and the streets he liked in the neighborhood, and just incredible detail that there's no way she could possibly have known. I mean, she was in California, I was in New York. I didn't tell her anything, so that obviously caught my attention, and then I became more and more curious to kind of investigate what could possibly be going on here.
Yes, my goodness. And also, this relationship with Brio was so important to you because you talk about in the book you had just come out of a devastating relationship, which, hey, we've all been there. And also you had a very serious car accident where your SUV had rolled over a bunch of times. And you ended up with a concussion.
I did. I mean, it was on a film shoot out in Nevada, so it was, quite traumatic, sort of a wake-up call. And one thinks, there must be more to life than just, working like a demon and trying to get ahead in my career and all that.
Yes, exactly. Oh, my goodness. So this was a very important change for you, a very important relationship and responsibility for you with Brio. It had a lot of impact, and you were hoping it would have a positive impact on your life.
I was. I just, I certainly didn't have in my mind that it would sort of lead me on a really very profound inward journey, a spiritual journey, and that I would develop a really amazing relationship with him, which I did ultimately. But in the beginning, that was not really in my mind. I just wanted like a normal, relationship with my puppy, that, like we understood each other.
It. Right. That you would be the master and he would listen to you, and you would kind of go on about your life the same way you did before, but everything changed.
It certainly did. I think there's a saying that if you ask for change, be prepared to change. Well, that certainly happened. So, after this initial experience, I started investigating further because I was curious. So I talked to other animal communicators and got more and more amazing readings for Brio. And then I even kind of worked it into my job, persuading the network I was working for to do a story about animal intelligence that include a segment of that show about animal communication and telepathy. So I got the psychic to read Diane Sawyer's dog, and again, it was amazingly accurate. And then in another story, I persuaded the network to let me do a story and try to have an animal communicator take a reading of a horse entered in the Belmont Stakes, the third leg of the Triple Crown.
Right. Yeah.
And it was the year that this famous horse, War Emblem, was supposed to win the Belmont and win the Triple Crown. And I couldn't persuade any of the trainers to let the psychic come except the trainer of the longest shot in Belmont Stakes history. It was 70-1, a horse named Sarava. So his trainer finally agreed. I figured he probably thought he had nothing to lose.
Yeah,
So I
right.
go out the day before the race with the psychic, and she listens to the horse and suddenly says, he says he's going to win, and everybody's jaw kind of dropped, and sort of inwardly snickering, and even the trainer sort of asked me, well, why does he think he's gonna win? And the psychic said, well, he wants to win for you and his owner, and he knows he can do it. So we finished, and I thought, how am I going to make a story out of this? And the next day was the race, and I'm watching at home, and War Emblem, as expected, was sort of near the front for most of the race, and the announcer paid no attention to Sarava until the final turn, whereupon he starts kind of screaming and saying that Sarava is pulling up, and then he overtook all the others, and it did indeed win the Belmont Stakes.
My God!
Much to everybody's shock. So I'm
so
the world could this have happened.
That is so.
Yes,
See how your
you placed
story
a bet.
turned out.
I'm sorry, what?
Did you think to place a bet on that?
I did not. Many people have asked me that. Well, I mean, the last thought, I really didn't think he was going to win,
No,
but he knew he was going to win. Isn't that a great, great story? My God, that's amazing. Oh, my
So
God.
that was really pretty. That was a major leap in my,
I bet
growing belief that there really was something going on here that I couldn't explain by, in terms of the 5 physical senses or, the material world,
It definitely goes beyond that. Yes, it does.
No,
it really does. Oh, my goodness. Well, we're big fans of animal psychics. We've had some on the show. I know some of them personally. Lydia Hibby is one who I know. I knew Beatrice Leidecker way back when all of this started. And it's just amazing to us what they can do. And the communication that occurs even with wild animals that they're able to talk with. And, especially big cats. We had somebody on the show who does animals in Africa. She actually goes there and talks to them and is able to help them with anything that's wrong with them. She gets them the help they need because she's aware, thanks to them, of what's really going on. So it's just a great thing that you're doing, Elena, bringing this forward because, again, you started out as a skeptic. So you're a great person to talk about this and turn people's head in this direction. I just love what you're doing with this book.
Well, thank you. I tried to sort of, play the devil's advocate and, wondered if maybe, even if you accept that there was something telepathic going on, I wondered if they could be reading my mind and not Brio's. But some of the detail was so obviously from his point of view and not something I had in mind or would have thought of, that over time I really became, as I said, more and more convinced that, the good ones, and I used the ones that I really came to trust and believe in. The good ones really, it's real. I mean, I am now totally convinced that they communicate with animals. And
absolutely,
that was a major shift in my perspective, that we can communicate with another species through some invisible means of communication. And, I started to do some research with current science about animal cognition, animal emotions, but also about animal extrasensory abilities and telepathy.
Well, it's so profound, I think, what animals perceive and how they perceive it. But I did watch your segment with the Diane Sawyer interview and the psychic talking to her dog. And I have to tell you the truth here. I thought Diane was a little annoying because she was kind of like, what? How did you know that? And it's like, well, Diane, it's obvious, it's because she's
Well, she
talking
was
to your
even
dog.
less of a believer than I was,
Yes, that came through loud and clear, believe me. Yeah, and here was the psychic who was right on the money and actually had her leave the room so she could talk to the dog on her own. And I thought that was another really great way to bring this to the public eye and say, look, these animals have thoughts, these animals have feelings and consciousness. And, I thought that was great, but I did find her annoying. It's like, why poo-poo it? Did she have a better explanation for how this woman knew these things? No. So there you go.
Well, not that I know of, but she probably was trying to protect her journalistic credentials, of being a skeptic. Which I was also to a degree, but...
Yeah, I understand that. Believe me, I do, because when it comes to the mainstream media, they're told, I know a lot of people have told me in the media, they're told to poo-poo these things and to laugh at them, and it's kind of wink-wink, here's the news story, but And the thing is that I don't think mainstream media has kept up with the audience because the audience has grown way beyond that. And
no, I agree,
that,
but I mean, this absolutely. But that show also was done, that must have been, 10, 12 years ago at least. I do believe there's a different perception in the general public now.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, that's true. There definitely is, definitely. Now, with your beautiful Brio, tell us more about your own experiences with his sweet soul and how he communicated with you and how you came to learn, not only from the psychics, but just from what you were doing with him, what he was about and how he was able to share his thoughts and feelings with you.
Well, once I, came to listen better and opened up to what was becoming increasingly clear, that he did have thoughts and feelings and was not an inferior being, but maybe even a superior being, from who could teach me things. He had a wisdom about him. I like to call it a presence, for lack of a better term. I mean, you could just look at him and feel like he was connected to something larger than himself. And it's not that he wasn't playful and he could be funny, but he had a dignity and he took up a lot of oxygen in the room. I mean, you just were kind of drawn to look at him. And other people recognized this too, friends and even strangers. It was, as a friend of mine said, you could look into his eyes and see the pyramids. So,
what a great statement.
He taught me so many things about being in the moment and just accepting things. I mean, it sounds like cliches to say these things, but and beyond that, once I had opened up to this relationship and the connection, there was really, I think, just without, if I hadn't opened up more, maybe I wouldn't have been so aware. But I think he came to me, with a knowledge of who I am. There was just a very profound recognition between us. I always felt that he just knew who I am in the way that even, other human beings didn't really.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah, it is hard to put into words, absolutely. But you took him to the beach. He loved the water. He loved to look at the water, the ocean, right? Is that something that?
Oh yeah, he just adored the ocean, and he would run. I mean, when he was younger and very agile, he would just run with the wind. I mean, he would just take off down the beach, but he also had a stillness about him sometimes, like he could just sit looking out to sea for minutes at a time, and it was almost like a meditation. And also, he loved flowers.
Really?
He would pull me into flower shops in the city, not to get attention or a treat, but he would just sit there, smelling. It really was like a meditation. I mean, sort of taught me that take time to smell the roses kind of idea, but dogs, I don't think dogs naturally in a dog sense are drawn to flower smells necessarily, but it was really unusual that he just adored flowers.
And he also, he likes cats too, huh? He started to form relationships with cats. Tell us about that.
He was obsessed with cats. I mean, he would find them in the neighborhood, and he would stare at them. Finally, I had to get him his own cat, which I still have.
That's adorable. Oh, my gosh. That's just cute. So cute. God, what a great soul. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Well, we're going to take a very short commercial break, everybody, and we're going to come back and hear more from Elena Mannis, who has written a terrific book, which, by the way, I think this would make a great Christmas present, Soul Dog, A Journey into the Spiritual Life of Animals. So stay tuned, everybody. You're listening to Supernatural Girls Radio, and we will be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With Cosmic Fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Astridian is a family of cosmetic products with 98% pure ionized minerals. We combine our science with a blend of essential oils to nourish and take care of your skin's health. How does it work? All Astridian products contain the proprietary redox technology, having the capability of simulating an ionic zinc-copper superoxide dismutase effect. This free radical scavenger currently in your body has been diminished by toxins and the daily stresses of life. It is a perfectly balanced mineral complex that all $200 an hour dermatologists, their professors, and ancient history have proven. Redox technology is a process of reducing the skin's oxidation by transferring electrons from a radical state to a stress-free normal condition. Oxidative stress is a form of cellular aging, and as science has proven, a precursor to disease. The free radical theory of aging states that organisms age because cells accumulate free radical damage over time. Damaged cells are not beautiful, but healthy cells are. The Astridian family is presented in 4 different uses that cover unique benefits to your body. They are the Essential Anti-Aging Series, the Multivitamin Series, Sports Series, and Professional Series. Regain your youth with the power of Astridian. Visit www.astridian.com and inquire. Use the code SUPERNATURAL and receive a 10% discount on your first purchase. Astridian, the beauty of being healthy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Supernatural Girls Radio. I'm your host, Patricia Baker. I am here with my co-host, PK, and our terrific guest tonight, Elena Manis, who has written a book called Soul Dog, A Journey into the Spiritual Life of Animals. You can find more information out about this book at souldogbook.com. Oh, my goodness. Elena, there's so much to talk about. So what did you find so profound about some of the psychics that you contacted to speak with your beloved Brio? What did they say can you think of anything in particular that really blew your mind? I know it all did, but you started out as a skeptic. But some particular things that come to mind about what they said?
Well, as I said, while Brio was physically alive, from the very beginning they reported these amazingly accurate details. Like once, it was actually the animal communicator who did the Belmont Stakes reading, and I had told her nothing about my dog, but on the way back from the filming to the city, I just asked her in the taxi, can you read my dog? And I didn't tell her anything, much to her. She didn't like that. I just gave his name and his breed, and there was silence for a while, and all of a sudden she said, there's something wrong with his stomach. He's at a veterinary hospital, and there's a woman vet, and he likes her. Well, he was very ill. He had pancreatitis, and he was indeed in the veterinary hospital, and the vet was a woman. So that was pretty stunning.
Yes.
That would get your
my
attention.
Goodness.
For sure.
Yeah.
Goodness.
And then there was it really was a miraculous healing, in my view. Sometime later, Brio all of a sudden collapsed on the street and couldn't walk. And I went through just a battery of very expensive medical tests, and finally they did fMRIs and everything, and finally the neurologist said that there's something wrong with his spine, and he was diagnosed with something called degenerative myelopathy. And the Western medicine doctors, and I would never not go to a regular vet. I mean, I'm not saying that, but they said, he probably is never going to walk again normally, much less run. So he was only 8 years old, I think, at the time. So I was really devastated. And I finally, I thought, what do I have to lose? And a friend recommended that I call animal communicator who also did long-distance energy healing. So I called, and, she said, give me a few moments, and I thought, she's going to agree with the regular the Western doctors, but she comes back on the line and says that, I will need to work with him a bit more, but I can there's something blocking the energy in his spine, but there's nothing fundamentally wrong with it, and he's going to be okay. You're going to have your dog back. And she did work with him a few times more, but he walked again, he ran, and we had several more very healthy, active years together after that. So that again really opened me up to, how could someone she was in Colorado, I was in New York, she'd never met me or the dog, how could this happen,
Yeah. Exactly.
And this was more than just reading his mind. It was reading his physical body and altering it, which she was somehow doing long distance.
It's
You're
amazing
lucky you
the
found
connection
her.
one can have with something like this. How
very happy.
Are so very, very good that they can tune in such a way that it's just mind-boggling that they're able to handle it in the way that they do. I think it's just fabulous.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
it is. It's such a gift.
It is quite a gift. I remember years ago, there was a friend of mine who had a dog who had been hit by a car, and they ended up having to put a pin in his leg. And so they did the surgery, put the pin in, but the dog wasn't healing. And so the owner called an animal psychic and said, "What is going on here? I had the surgery done, and he's not healing." So this animal psychic communicated with her dog, and the dog said, "The pin's not in right." So my friend marched into the vet's office and said, "You need to check this. The pin's not in right." And of course, the vet got very defensive. "Yes, it is. I did the surgery. I know it's fine." She said, "I don't care what you think. You're going to go in and you're going to correct this." So sure enough, that pin was in wrong. And because the vet was going to amputate the dog's leg. So the hell you are.
Oh my God.
You're going to fix it. And
Dear
so
Lord.
anyway, so this dog recovered fully. But this is another great example of the wonderful ability that the good animal psychics have, and how in this case it saved the dog's leg. Can you imagine? So, this is a great gift that these people have. And certainly you found some of the best in your travels with Brio.
Well, I was very fortunate. I did do some research into anybody getting into this. I certainly recommend doing your homework, researching people and getting word of mouth from people you trust who've used the communicators, which I did. And then once if you have successful or readings with them, I would continue to use them. I found a group of people that I really trusted, and they did not let me down.
Well,
now,
the fact
what
that
do you recommend?
So open to this was fabulous.
Yes, exactly. And also, Eleanor, what do you recommend to our audience who may want to find a really good animal psychic? How should they go about it? What would you say?
Well, you can start with Google, and you come up with probably some of the more well-known names, possibly. If you really do it enough, you figure out who some of the best-known people are. You can always call them for recommendations. Many of them get very busy, or they're not taking on new clients, but they could recommend people. You can ask other dog or animal people who've used animal communicators for recommendations. I was scared to do that because I thought, oh, these people are going to think I'm crazy. But I was very surprised to learn that more people were doing this than I had expected.
Yes, exactly.
Ideally, I think the best way is to find, a trusted friend who's used an animal communicator and, have them tell you who they really like, But that said, I think some people connect like any relationship. There's some communicators connect to one dog better than another, perhaps, or they have different ways of reading an animal. So a little bit of it is trial and error for your own situation.
That's true.
Well,
yeah, so that's good advice.
I think word of mouth is probably one of the greatest gifts we have available to us by researching and asking questions. It's amazing the information that's trickled down to us that we hadn't even thought about. When we ask one question about one thing, all of a sudden there's like a pool of information that comes from other directions. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yes, that's exactly right. So now we move into another aspect of your relationship with Brio when he was getting older. And I know you have a very busy life. You had to do a lot of traveling for your job. And how did you manage that as he was getting older and you saw what was happening with him, and then you had to balance your career? Tell us about that.
Well, I'd always had a support system. I had to because of that, dog walkers and dog sitters, and a woman I really trusted who would board him, not in a kennel, but in her home. And she would take the cat also, which was great.
Nice.
So, I developed a support system, which I had to have of people I really trusted who knew him and could take care of him in the right way, which, in his later years it got difficult, with symptoms of aging. And actually I moved out of the city to the country in his last years, which made life somewhat easier. And one of my reasons for doing that was exactly because of that, to make his life easier. I mean, so I just wanted to keep him around as long as he seemed to be enjoying life, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And as he did get older, he started to exhibit symptoms where he would collapse. I mean, what was causing these symptoms that you were?
Well, this was, you know, eventually this degenerative myelopathy, which is, somebody explained it as kind of the Lou Gehrig's, the dog version of Lou Gehrig's disease. And so eventually it began to catch up with him. So there were other incidents of collapsing, and he lost more control of his hindquarters. So I would have to sort of half carry him a lot, you know, with one of those harnesses. I mean, it's not uncommon in older dogs, especially large dogs. But,
right.
You know, I certainly did everything I could to ease his way, and you know, but it was much easier in the country and more enjoyable for him. Because he could lie outside in the grass and not have to lie on a hard sidewalk or something, you know.
Yes, how nice that you did that. I get the feeling you did it more for him than you, and so what a wonderful thing
I think
that
I did,
was.
especially in retrospect. I mean, there were some other reasons I might not have done it if, you know, I hadn't really considered his situation.
Yes, yes.
So,
and so, as I told you before we even got on the air, you know, PK and I read this, and I just burst into tears when you talked about, you know, his passing. Even though it was such a peaceful passing and you were with him, I mean, that's the one thing I say that's wrong with having pets, is that they don't live as long as we do, and we have to say goodbye to them, and it's so hard. And tell us about that experience for you.
Well, of course it was hard. I mean, I dreaded it, you know, but I finally knew, and the animal communicators supported me to really believe that, you know, the time had come, that, you know, life was just becoming too difficult for him, and he was ready in some sense. So, you know, the day came, and, you know, it's for any animal lover, I mean, it's devastating. It's so hard, but I had arranged for one of the communicators to be on the phone with me when the vet came to the house. So, you know, I had spent the whole day, that day and the day before, just being with Brio 24/7 and sleeping next to him and holding him, and I would just sit with him on the floor for hours, you know, which in itself was an amazing experience, which I write about in the book. Maybe I won't go into all the detail now, but when the time came and the vet arrived, I was holding him, lying on the floor, and I had Alicia on the phone just for moral support to, you know, try to be sure, you know, that he really was ready for this, and it was time. So when the vet put the injection in, I was holding him, and I felt this incredible spiraling sensation, like it was just like being in a vortex somehow of spiraling out, up and out, and I was somehow going with him. And I didn't know what was going on, but I was just sort of holding on to him. And the animal communicator, Alicia, later explained that it was his energy just going out of his physical body and expanding. And but you know, it's an experience I'll never get over. I mean, because I physically felt the energy going out. I mean, his energy.
What an amazing experience! My God.
I mean, it really was, and you know, I guess it's not that uncommon, according to, you know, one of the communicators I read, and what, you know, Alicia, the one I had on the phone, was saying. But then, you know, in the days after, of course I wanted him back physically, but I also wanted to somehow, you know, I wanted to know where he was, or, you know, was the connection still there? Could I communicate with him? And the answer came to be clearly yes. I mean, again, the communicators really translated these amazingly accurate messages from Brio that I think were meant to prove that he really was there in spirit and is there with me, because the reports were reports of exactly what I was doing. For example, when I went to scatter some of his ashes in the ocean, where I was sitting, then I'd taken a sandwich to eat, then I'd taken a book. This. How could they possibly have known this?
Right. Right. Oh my goodness. So you did get confirmation, and that must have made you feel great, knowing that was not the end of Brio.
Well, that was the biggest gift probably of all out of this journey, this relationship, because what a profound, sorry, I just have a lingering cough from my cold, but what a profound sea change, really, in my perspective about the nature of reality and existence, that I was absolutely convinced that his consciousness, his spirit, was still endured, and was there, is there.
Yes.
So, I really don't have doubt about that anymore. So if that's true of my dog, it's true of every living creature.
That's right.
Soul, whatever you want to call it, spirit, soul, consciousness, it endures. It doesn't die when the physical body ends.
Exactly
so,
right. Yes.
We have to stop and take a look at all the things that have transpired, the pets that we've had over the years, or even the connection with certain animals within our yard or within our space, that every creature has this capacity of loving and caring and wanting to return or receive that same thing, even when they've passed.
Well, that's right. That's I think there's two big themes in the book that I, hope will help people or, make people more aware. And one is certainly to view our fellow creatures differently. As I said, that they're sentient, intelligent beings with spirits and souls and consciousness, and they're not our inferiors for us to have dominion over and control and make a bad.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. Yes. Now, I've come across some animal psychics who won't speak with pets after they've passed, for whatever their own religious beliefs are, but there are certainly a lot that will speak with pets that have passed. And also, you wanted to be able, now this is a big question we get from a lot of our friends and a lot of people in the audience, because you also wanted to know, is Brio going to reincarnate and come back to you? So what happened with that?
Well, I did really want that, especially immediately after he physically passed, and I really, was desperately searching for clues. Where could I find a puppy who would be Brio come back? And I had always I did believe in reincarnation as a child, and then when we grow up, people poo-poo it, so it sort of went into the back of my mind. But with Brio, I really, really wanted to believe he could come back in another body. And I still believe that I certainly am open to reincarnation. I believe that I believe in it, but I got another puppy within 4 months of Brio's passing, and I don't believe actually that he is Brio reincarnated. He's a very different spirit and character and soul, and I love him a lot, but he's not. He's his own person. His own spirit.
Don't you think that's best under the circumstances? Because the connection that you had with Brio was so strong. Nothing else could really take its place in the sameness, but the difference.
Yeah, I think you're right. Two. And it's not that, I have the connection with Brio. In some ways it becomes deeper over time, because it's more internal. And
yes, right.
I truly feel that he's with me.
That's wonderful. How magical for you that you had this incredible experience. especially with his passing. I mean, feeling that vortex energy, which a lot of people feel just without a body, but you had the actual experience of where he was going. That is so profound. And I would imagine that beyond everything else that you experienced really, really bound you to him in a terrific way. It's, wow, you are so blessed to have had this experience of Brio. My God. I'm glad you're talking about it.
Oh, I know I am.
We can all
Believe me.
share it. Yeah, yeah. It's incredible. And I know we all have pets that and there are some that really stand out, but it is so comforting to know that when they pass, it's not the end for them. I mean, I certainly saw that in the photographs that I posted of my angel who passed away a long time ago. And clearly, and I sent that to you, Elena, that I know you wanted more info about it, which I'm happy to share with you at any time. But seeing that photograph, which for our audience, you can see it on our Facebook page, the Supernatural Girls Facebook page. But when I was shocked when I saw that photo, because I wasn't even thinking about Angel. We were just doing experiments in the afterlife, and there she came. And she was a very special spirit to me, like Brio was to you. So, seeing the photograph,
that's amazing. I mean, how do you explain that? I mean, of what happened?
I don't know if I have an explanation per se. I can tell you what happens, that when I get together with the team, and we're all psychic mediums, we experience what I would call a portal opening. And in photography, and we have all the photographs of this, it looks like a screen door. So you see this screen door, and then you see a vortex with the screen door, and then we all start to turn blue. So you would see in the photographs I have, you'll see our faces turn from light blue to dark, dark blue. And then we know it's kind of like sticking our heads into the portal. And then when we take the photographs of the screen, all kinds of things have come through. But again, like I said, I was so, I don't even have words for when I saw that photograph of Angel. It just was, and I'm somebody who's not a skeptic, but seeing that photo, it just touched me on so many levels. It was amazing. And I did have another one. I do have another one of another dog, Micah, who I had rescued from my mother-in-law, who just wasn't able to take proper care of Micah at the time. So I spirited Micah away from her, much to the protest of my husband, who said, "You're not going to keep him, are you?" And I said, "Of course." I said, "Oh, no, I won't keep him." But of course, I had every intention of keeping him because he was an older dog and he was almost blind. I'm like, who's going to want this dog? He'll never live out the rest of his life as loved as he would be with me. So anyways, finally my husband figured out that I had lied, and I planned on keeping Micah. Micah also showed up in one of the photographs, and I'll send that to you also, Elena, so you can see it, and I will post it online. But it's those moments, and I'll tell you something interesting that happened with that photo, because my husband is probably the biggest skeptic on the face of the earth. And when I showed him this photo, and I pointed to Micah in the picture, he teared up. I mean, he had tears in his eyes. He felt Micah's soul when he saw that picture. There was no doubt that was Micah. So again, they're able to navigate these dimensions better than we can, and they're much more advanced at this kind of thing. So
really,
they really can. They can I've heard little paw prints. I've heard them walking around the house sometime, and I know it's not the two dogs I have today.
No, I talk to people who've had that experiences like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now,
the dog barks in the night, or
exactly. Now, did you have any of that happen with Brio after he passed?
No, I didn't. I feel his presence in meditation sometimes. It's very real to me, but it's hard to describe. But I haven't had, heard. Well, there was one incident that was more evident in the material world. I guess I was driving my car in Brio. I rode in the back seat in my car, and I was on the thruway and merging into the thruway from a ramp. It was a left-hand ramp, so the traffic was on my right. And all of a sudden I hear this sort of clanking that sounded like the tags on Brio's collar, and there was really nothing in the car that would have caused that. So I turned my head over my shoulder to look, and right at that moment this huge tractor trailer was bearing down on me, about to hit me. He was coming in the left-hand lane, so he was coming. I was trying to merge in right from the left. So, I mean, I barely had time, to brake or, and avoid him. But, I mean, I really believe that was Brio, and he saved my life. I mean, it was, it was very bizarre.
Oh, well, you did have that experience then. So hearing his license and whatever else, other tags, that's a fantastic experience. Yeah. Wow. Oh, my God. See, he saved you. That is so amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, now you also in your book talk about the science of understanding dogs and how they communicate and what they feel and what they recognize. Can you share some of that with us? I know people need to buy the book to read all the details of it, but if you could share some of that science with us, that would be great.
Sure. Well, I won't get into excessive detail, but there's a lot of research going on now, first of all, with animal intelligence and emotions, and really in some the scientists, many neuroscientists, for example, are finding that animals, our fellow animals, and dogs in some of these studies are more like us than we may have imagined. For example, they do brain scans of dogs now and discovered that in terms of emotion, many of the same brain areas that activate in the human brain for reward systems being processed in the brain are in the same areas in dog brains. There was one neuroscientist who, after his own dog passed, he wondered if his dog had really loved him for himself or really just for the food. So, he did a study with brain scans comparing dog brain responses to food compared to responses to human praise and reward, the human connection, and found that, there was at least equal and often more activation in the relevant brain areas for the human reward as there was for the food. And, there are other studies showing that dogs figure us out incredibly well, that they really know when we're not looking or can't see them. For example, if a room is dark, there was a study showing that, they're more likely to go steal food when the room is dark. The humans can't see them. I thought that was a funny study.
That's hilarious. And, oh, my God.
I mean, for people who have dogs and cats, and some of it's not so surprising, like at some level, but I think it's great that there is increasingly scientific empirical evidence showing how smart and how sensitive emotionally these animals are. And then, of course, there's also research now into animal extrasensory abilities, including telepathy, and the most famous name in that area is Rupert Sheldrake. I know you may have heard of him. He's a Cambridge University trained biologist who is studying animal telepathic abilities, and he did a famous study with about dogs who seem to know when their people are coming home, even when it's at random times and can't be expected. They would go to the window and wait for the person. They actually videotaped showing that right at the same time when the human left work, for example, the dog would go to the window. So and Sheldrake has amassed statistical evidence about this behavior. So it's really fascinating. He did work with a parrot also, who seemed to have telepathic communication with his or her owner, her, I believe. So some of the current science is really fascinating.
It really is, and there's so many aspects to what dogs are capable of. I'm sure you've read the information and some of the studies that are done most recently about dogs being able to sniff out cancer, and how dogs have even saved their owners' lives by being fixated on a certain part of their owner's body and just not wanting to leave it alone. And then the person goes and gets checked and finds out, in fact, that the dog was smelling or sensing cancer. So, I mean, again, I feel like we are so we're so far behind. That's like we really need to catch up and understand the complexity of our pets and the animals in this world, because they're capable of so many wonderful things, and we've been taught, conditioned for so long to think of them as less than us, but they're not. They're probably superior.
No, it's so true. And then there was a great declaration in 2012 by a group of international scientists, including neuroscientists and neurologists, who declared that the evidence in scientific terms is really showing that non-human animals have, I think, quote unquote, all the neuroanatomical, neurochemical, and neurophysiological substrates of conscious states, along with the capacity to exhibit intentional behaviors. So they're really saying that humans are not the only beings who have consciousness, which is really important.
Very important. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'm really hoping that these studies and also books like your great book, Soul Dog, Elena, is something that's going to help people raise their awareness about this, so they will have more love and respect for the animals in the world, and especially their pets. When I see things that are going bad with that, I just get so upset. So I know books like yours have a big impact for people, and they're in our consciousness that is sometimes very lacking. So again, it's such a great thing that you're doing. I'll share another interesting story that I'm sure you and our audience will appreciate. And I know I've shared this before, but after Micah died, who was a Shih Tzu, we were devastated. And we decided we would get another Shih Tzu. So we looked for months, and there weren't any litters available. Finally, we went to a breeder in Connecticut, and we saw the puppies. And she was very cautious. At first, she wouldn't, because the puppies were so young, she wouldn't let anybody touch them because she was afraid, if somebody had a cold, that it could be very serious for the puppy. So I thought she was, very conscious about the puppies, which was good. But we went back, and this one puppy really bonded with my husband. And so we decided then when it was time for him to come home, we would take him home. So we gave her a deposit, and we were very impatiently waiting. Now, I'm a dream analyst, so I remember my dreams almost every night. My husband, no. So anyways, we both woke up one morning with almost the same identical dream. And in the dream, this little puppy was coming to us and saying, "You need to take me home now." And in my dream, it was because there was something wrong with the wood stove. And because this woman had a wood stove where the puppies were. And in my husband's dream, there was a problem with the wood stove, and it burned the place to the ground. So, of course, having this experience, of the same dream made us very, very nervous. We're like, oh, my God, we have to take this puppy home now. So I called the breeder, and I said, look, we're very responsible pet owners. We would like to take him home early. And she kind of hesitated, and then she said, well, let's, give it another few days. And so we're like, okay, but we're now on pins and needles about this. And then we both had the same dream again. So this time I call her back, and I'm like, look, I really need to insist that we take this dog, take this puppy now. So we went and got him, and we had to name him Hermes. So the messenger. So anyways, we bring him home, and we're so happy. We're so happy to have him with us, and it just filled our hearts with so much love. So anyways, a few weeks later, I called the breeder, and I said, so how'd it go with the rest of the puppies? Are they all placed? And she's like, oh, my God, I had a terrible problem with the puppies. I said, what happened? I had a problem with my wood stove, and they all got sick. Now, right then and there, it's like if anybody had any doubt, that these dogs and cats and horses can communicate, that sealed the deal. I mean, how in the world would we have known this unless Hermes had given us the message loud and clear, you got to get me out of here. He knew there was a problem with the wood stove. He knew all the puppies were going to be sick. She couldn't release them for another 2 weeks because they were all on antibiotics. So they got really sick from this wood stove problem, whatever the heck it was, I don't know. But
oh my God, that's incredible.
The point is, isn't it? Yeah, it was incredible. And so, again, here it is. If anybody has any doubt, they should come and talk to me and to you, because they would know for a fact this is how it works. And if you're open to it, if you are, somebody who is ready for, as you were, the change, you will have these experiences. And so, yeah, I mean, he's the same today as he was back then, always giving us messages, but that was a really big message that saved him.
That was amazing. I mean, that's so true. I mean, and once one has an experience like this, I mean, there's nothing like it's no longer intellectual or just words. Once you've actually had the experience,
that's right.
It's so convincing. You have to, you just know that it's true. That they're communicating.
That's right. My God. But your experience with Brio was so transformative. I mean, it took you all the way from one end of the spectrum to the other. That was quite a journey.
Certainly has been. As I said, maybe it's not over yet, but, I mean, I'm certainly still a human being, and, I'm not a perfect human being by any means, but I truly feel that I'm profoundly changed. There's just no question about it. And so, unexpected. I mean, at some level, I must have been open to it and ready for it, even though I didn't think I was, I guess.
Yes.
I guess at the soul level,
I think so, because it's like your soul called to his soul. And it just, I mean, he picked you out. You talked about that in the book. He chose you. And then the way things happened and then it got turned around, you ended up with him. So is that him in the background? He wants to talk to us too.
You never know. It's not coming from here. My
Bravo.
current dog is asleep. Bravo is sleeping.
Oh my God! I just heard a dog bark.
I thought it was your dog.
Did you hear that, PK? No, PK. Did you hear that?
Oh, I heard it.
Yes,
I thought it was your dog.
Yeah. Yes,
no.
I did, and I'm just getting ready to have to shut down myself. I'll talk with you in the morning.
Okay, I know PK hurt her back, so she can only sit up for a certain period of time. But yeah, we all heard it. And no, my dogs, I don't keep them in here because I have 2 Shih Tzus and one of them snores really loud. So
very strange.
He snores as a 300-pound man, but I heard the dog bark. You did too. So there's another message.
Bravo was sound asleep here.
So it wasn't Bravo, and it wasn't my Hermes or my Gabriel, and PK is in California. There are no dogs there. So I believe we just got a little message from your Brio.
Wow.
How beautiful, huh?
Thank you, Brio.
Yes, thank you. This is what an exciting show. It's so great to be talking to you, Elena. It really is. And now, where do you see this going in your work? Do you see you doing more documentaries about animal communication? Is that something you have planned?
Well, I mean, I can't say I've planned it, but I've certainly thought about it. I mean, I'd love to do that. And, maybe more books. But, animals, this is my passion, so I hope to do more with it for sure. And, certainly the science too is ongoing. I mean, if you have, I'd like to just briefly explain Sheldrake's theories about how this telepathic communication happens for people who may not know about him. So just in brief, he believes there are these invisible fields, so to speak, of energy, for lack of a better term, but in any case, invisible fields. He might not call it energy, actually, but that he calls morphogenetic fields. It's a term that comes from evolutionary biology.
Right.
And he believes that these fields connect beings who are bonded to each other in some way. It could be a dog and its human being. It could be a group of homing pigeons who are able to find their way back to their home by some invisible means. And that is how he believes this telepathic communication between a group of dogs, say, or members of the same species, or interspecies communication, whether it's from one species of non-human animals to another, or between a non-human animal and a human. That's how he believes this communication is happening, and I find that really fascinating, and really makes a lot of sense in many ways.
It really does. His theories are fascinating. And I've heard it talked about in terms of frequency, that it's like a radio station. We're all on different frequencies, and the people who are able to communicate with animals are able to get on that same frequency, and that's why they're able to read it so accurately. That makes sense to me also. But there does seem
we're all vibration and frequency, so that absolutely makes sense.
Oh, it does. It's so exciting to be able to tap into that. As some people, I think, do it a little more easily than others. And I know that the woman that you had on was Diane Sawyer. It looked like she wasn't doing private readings anymore, but she was teaching people how to do what she does, which is pretty cool. So do you know anybody or have you taken any classes to be able to do this?
I haven't officially taken a class. I know some of the communicators I used do teach it, and I know of others. I actually haven't taken a class. It's I want to at some point. I think part of me just wanted to develop this in my own way,
sure,
on my own terms, without actually taking a course about it. But I think that at some point I would like to do that.
Yes, it's. I did take one class with Lydia Hibby years ago in Connecticut. It was so much fun. Everybody brought their dogs and cats to this big hall, and it was the funniest thing because they all got along. It was like there were no problems. With any. There must have been 100 people there with their pets. So it was really fun to study with Lydia. And I know Lydia has done a lot of work with animals through the years, and she is somebody who goes to the stables, the racehorse stables, and really, talks to all the racehorses about how they're feeling, etc. So it's an amazing field. I do hope that you will do more television about it, Ellen.
Well,
I think it would be great.
I really want to. I would like to.
I hope so.
I would have to.
Are the networks open
like
to
this?
That? Are the networks
open
to this kind of thing? Are the networks open to this kind of thing?
Well, I'm not sure. The industry has changed a lot in recent years, so it's becoming increasingly difficult in terms of a traditional, 3 commercial networks. It's hard to get the money for a high-budget documentary. They're not supporting them in the way they used to. But on the other hand, there are all these other outlets on cable that are supporting documentaries. So, there are other ways to get documentaries funded and on the air. It's just a process of raising the money and all that. So it takes a bit of time, but I would love to do that.
I hope so. And now with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and all kinds of stuff, there are so many other places to go. And again, I think it's so great because it would help people understand this about animals, and they are not less than us, no, not by a long shot. Now, also in your book, you talk about other people's stories of how they found their soul dogs, and again, it's all about following the intuition, right? As you talked about this
well, it
in the
is.
book.
I mean, whether they found them by accident or the relationship developed and they recognized that this was a soul dog. Fascinating stories by people that I wouldn't necessarily have thought would be into this whole topic of soul dogs and animal communication, like another well-known documentary filmmaker, D.A. Pennebaker. Some people might have heard of him, had a beloved dog who he really, as he put it to me, he said, as I felt with Brio, he said, I felt that Bix knew me and I knew him. And he was another person who experienced after Bix passed that he heard him barking in the night, that he was, so convinced that really was Bix, and his wife didn't hear the barks, but he heard it several times very clearly. So it helped me a lot to talk to these other people who are very credible people.
Yes.
Who, like me, didn't come to this, having any kind of fixed belief about this, but just experienced it,
Yes, exactly. It's just so amazing that you opened up to all of this after being a hardcore journalist. Facts is what you're trained to go after, and yet here is this experience that takes you much further out into the esoteric realm and the mystical realm. It's just great. I mean, I'm impressed by by your journey.
Thank you.
I really am. No, it's not
Thank
an easy
you.
place to go. Yeah, but you have to have courage and trust, and to be willing to experience the unknown. And you really took it on. That's a lot of courage.
Well, thank you. I mean, I didn't talk about it for many years with most people that I worked with professionally. Of course, now it's out in the open, but especially in past years, people weren't really ready to hear this. And as we said earlier on the call, there was kind of a snickering and dismissal of this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Often.
I find that so annoying. Yeah, I really don't like that. I mean, I'm really hoping that we'll see more of a wave of this kind of thing, of just really accepting it. I mean, there were some really great sociologists that have talked about this and making room for the supernatural and the paranormal in our lives, that the paranormal really is normal. We just haven't made room for it, and we don't have the science yet for it. It's something that Bob Monroe used to say of the Monroe Institute. He said, all we have right now is the ability to measure the exhaust coming from the car. We don't have the science to measure everything else. That's what matters. So I thought that was a great explanation. But it doesn't mean that we have to dismiss it all. It means that we need to embrace it and look for a new way to understand it. And that's what you did. So I know you're leading other people with you on this journey. Now, can people get in touch with you to share their own stories? Is there a way to do that on SoulDogBook.com?
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, I really urge people to do that. I would love to gather other stories, which could be subjects for a film or another book. So the website for the book is www.souldogbook.com, and you can contact me on the website. There's contact information. And there's also a Facebook page for the book.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's actually called The Spiritual Life of Animals. So,
okay.
Which the page I run. You can post on there or send me. I think you can send a private message to Spiritual Life of Animals. But the safest way is the website for the book, which is www.souldogbook.com. So it'd be great to hear from people, and I'd love to hear other people's experiences like yours with this photo. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling, and I know other people have had experiences like that, and others that they would love to share with you. And you can keep bringing all of this information to the world and it's so healing. I mean, I know your journey was very healing for you, and here you are, this beautiful book. Again, this is a great book for the holidays, for Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. I mean, if you want to give a very heartfelt book to a friend or family member, I highly recommend this book, and I know PK does too. We've been talking about it all week. Yeah, it's.
And I should say
beautiful.
there, if you go to the website for the book, there are links there to order. It makes it really easy. So,
good.
It's available at all the major booksellers, but you'll find the links right on the website if you want to do it that way.
Excellent, and it's also on Amazon. I would imagine that's where.
Yeah, so the link to Amazon is on the website along with some other links.
It is.
But you can either you can do it through the website or you can just go to Amazon. Either way.
Okay. Oh, this is great. Well, Elena, this has been such a pleasure having you on the show. I mean, you really are remarkable in what you have accomplished in your life and this journey that you went on with the amazing Brio. My God, how blessed you are, and we're blessed because you've chosen to share all of this with us. And again, thank you so very much. This has been great. I hope you will come back as you have more experiences to share. We'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back. This has really been a wonderful conversation, and I'm really grateful that you invited me.
Oh, well, believe me, we decided we were going to do spiritual events and spiritual interviews in November, and when your publicist got in touch with us about your book, we jumped on it. We just knew that we had to have you on the show. We have so many animal lovers in our audience. We're animal lovers, and you are offering a very unique and wonderful perspective on all of this. So, again, many thanks. And everybody out there, again, the name of the book is Soul Dog, A Journey into the Spiritual Life of Animals by Elena Mannis. Run out and get it. You won't be sorry. It's terrific. So, Elena, thanks again. And next week, everybody, as I mentioned, we are going to be talking about soul alignment with the originator of the soul alignment process. Andrea Hess is going to be joining us, and we're going to find out all about how to realign your soul with its divine purpose. So until then, everybody, I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe one. And until then, we will see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with Supernatural.